Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Sorting Hat Podcast, where anything and everything can and will be sorted into the various houses of Hogwarts. I, as always, am your host, Michael Barryte, joined by my co-host, Katie Reed.
I just ate some Israeli chocolate. Let's do this.
Yeah, it was very good, presented to us by our guest for today, the wonderful and talented Leigh Lahav. She is an animator, writer, all-around great individual, and very opinionated.
That's true.
You may have seen her various mashups on her YouTube channel, Only Leigh. She's also a contributor to the YouTube channel How It Should Have Ended.
And like maybe my only friend in this industry, and this will tie into our theme today, who I didn't meet. We met through a work function, but I've never actually had felt like, oh, this is my friend from entertainment, Leigh Lahav. It's always just like, this is my buddy, and sometimes we gripe about work to each other, but it's never like us trying to figure out like, how do we improve each other's careers?
Oh my gosh.
Was I the
that's
one who
the best kind
facilitated
of
that introduction?
So and
yeah,
VidCon.
It was at VidCon, which
That's right.
Which is a YouTuber convention, and you just happened to be like, hey, I have a friend we can go meet up with.
Yeah.
And it changed my life.
I mean, you two are thick as thieves, and Katie was a voice on one of your animated pieces. Actually, on several animated pieces.
Something like that.
Yeah, we do stuff occasionally. She lets me goof into a microphone and then goes, no, you have to do it good now. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, we beat the LA friendship odds.
Yeah. And it is worth noting that Leigh is both very opinionated, but like a bit of a enigma as far as sorting goes, because you've been sorted several times, and you've been, I think the most recent sorting has been Gryffindor, but you believe that you are a Ravenclaw.
It's quite the opposite, actually. I mean, the latest sorting was a Ravenclaw, but I'm starting to think I'm a Gryffindor, and I'm having a very hard time with that. No one really wants to be a Gryffindor, do they?
It's a lot of
kids do, but like,
yeah, little children do. But
I think it
adults,
was
like,
in
that's like
vogue for a while.
It's like saying that you're going to be one of those doctors without borders. Like, oh, that sounds like a lot of responsibility. Oh God, I gotta be perfect all the time.
People, it's just that if I say, oh yeah, I'm a Gryffindor, people think, okay, you read the book like once, the first one, you think you're the main character.
But some people have
That's
to be
not
Gryffindors.
it though. It's like, oh yeah, I guess I'm a Gryffindor. I'm one of those exhausting look at me types.
Yeah, I don't think that's necessarily true about you.
Uh-uh.
But you do have like a moral compass that you follow. But you do want to be famous, and those are the.
That's true. What do you want to do?
Like in the nicest way, like in the way that you're like, oh, I make good stuff, and I have confidence in myself. Not in like a weird like, I will kill everybody to show how great I am.
My clarity about, oh my gosh, I probably am a Gryffindor is when I understood that. You know the character in the movie who, I don't know, makes a wish or something and he gets like famous without doing anything.
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh, but he didn't do anything to earn this. That's awful. And I'll be like, no, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. What am I known for? I don't know. I'm just all overly great.
You are one of the only guests so far that I've been like, oh, this is a tough one. Because like, you do exhibit stuff like in Ravenclaws who are like they can be kind of like sweetie, but they can be weird, but they can also be the most fair because they're always like following that Vulcan sort of rationale,
right? And
like you'll come up and be like, oh, I was thinking about this. Isn't this kind of weird that everyone's thinking this? And I'm like, oh, I was thinking that. I've been unfair. So you're very smart and driven.
Thank you.
But in a way that's hard to pin down,
right?
But I would probably say, without being like, oh, this Leigh,
this one,
you're probably a Gryffindor, and for the safety of our show, maybe we'll just go with that for today.
Sure.
All right then.
I am a Ravenclaw. Katie is a Hufflepuff.
Yep. Of course.
Today, based on the many selections that you did have of things that we could be sorting, we settled on the EGOT awards shows.
Yes.
Now, just
actually, my husband suggested that.
Oh, yes. Oren did.
Who is like a 100% Hufflepuff.
Yeah. Like undoubtedly.
Everyone who met him. Oh, yes.
Is EGOT, did that come from 30 Rock? Or was that a thing before?
We thought about that. We just watched that episode and then we kind of came up with that
Because I feel, I mean, I could certainly read into that.
Oh, no, it was actually,
it was before,
it was coined by this dude named Philip Francis Thomas.
Oh, okay.
He's an actor. He was the dude who played Tubbs on Miami Vice.
Great.
And only 12 people have it.
Okay.
Yeah. EGOTed. Yeah.
So jumping into it, we're not going to be going straight through in standard EGOT fashion. We're going to actually be starting with the Tonys.
Yes.
So the Tony Awards, well, all of these award shows have, do the Emmys have performances throughout them? I'm thinking about this.
Comedy. There might be one.
They do like sketches.
They do sketches, but
there's a sketch with a musical performance. You mean?
Yeah, like musical performances.
Well, there wouldn't be really much to do. Like, can you imagine a live performance of a TV theme song? Oh God, I'm cringing out of my skin right now.
That sounds awesome.
The only theme songs that I'd want to hear perform live are The Simpsons or The Office, and they're like, at this point, like. Maybe you could do The Simpsons, but it would still be weird.
I think you just have to bring Weird Al to attach lyrics to everything.
Oh, all right. Get on that, producers. That sounds freaking cool. If he just did like one of his like polka remixes of all the nominated shows that year.
He made one for 30 Rock, didn't he?
Maybe.
Yes, he did.
Oh, I think you're right. But anyway, jumping into the Tonys. The Tonys, which are the celebration and awarding of all things within the Broadway circuit, specific to the United States. Now, I actually have not seen the Tonys in a while, but customarily, I remember, like, as far as, like, performances go, I'd say that, like, the Grammys and the Tonys are the ones that really have like
they get the
strong performances because
they're getting the stronger performances, but they're also getting like the smaller viewership sometimes.
This is true. I mean, Tonys is definitely, of all of the ones that we're talking about, Tonys has the lowest viewership.
But this makes sense because the Tonys are live performances,
right,
and presentations based on live performance. So that would follow that you would have a higher caliber more consistently for performances there.
Even though it's Broadway, it's huge, everyone knows it. It still has kind of an underdog feeling to it. Mm-hmm. Whenever on Twitter someone says I'm watching the Tonys, you're like, wow.
No, that's
so
because
special.
I'm gonna just say it. Theater's for dorks.
Oh yeah, dorks, gays, and Jews.
And for families, like. Those are the people who still watch theater consistently, are nerds, dorks, and families.
That's why I'm voting for Ravenclaw on this one.
Really?
Yes, because of that, because it's like theater kids, geeks, gays, Jews.
That's why actually I would put it in Hufflepuff, because if anybody, because it was some really brilliant tweet that said like, all right, there's like 4 types of kids, right? Like hero kids, evil kids, smart kids, and miscellaneous. And then, so like everybody else, and like, there's just like something real dorky about the Tonys just in general in terms of, it was founded in 1947. That was the year they did the first one. And if you think about that, if you are a Broadway nerd, that was the decline of the first golden age. By that time, like films were coming out and stuff like that. That were a lot of them were musicals, but they had started to kind of like become its own art form. And it wasn't trying to emulate theater.
That's why I'm still leaning towards. Well, I mean, Hufflepuff is something I did think about when I.
Hufflepuff, just to like distill both arguments, I think Hufflepuff has the interesting distinction not only just based on like the subject matter, but also the fact that you are framing it through a different medium.
Yeah.
So you're taking wine and trying to make it hard liquor, basically, because you're saying, hey, we're performing theater for cameras. Like,
that's why I'm always so baffled when it hits really well, because I don't know if either of you have ever had to watch a taping of something that you did live, but I've never wanted to just have my soul leave my body quicker than having to rewatch like a comedy routine or a play I did live.
Watching live theater on tape, unless it's knowingly done for it, like there are very, very few instances. Like I would say
The 1970 Sweeney Todd.
The Sondheim Into the Woods with
Bernadette
Peters.
And even more, like, even though it's like the most Hufflepuff of musicals, Oklahoma, the one they did with Hugh Jackman a while ago, they actually like they adapted that to be filmed. I think it was like a 3-camera thing.
Yeah.
It was good.
It was good.
Yeah, and I mean, we've also had all of those, that recent resurgence of staged productions being televised of like The Wiz and Grease and all of those other ones.
And Peter Pan with Christopher Walken when he forgot his lines for a full minute live, you guys.
Oh.
And he was just like, ah. And then all of the pirates around him started going, just like trying to lean in, but everyone losing their minds completely. And Allison Williams, Marnie from Girls was Peter Pan. It made no freaking sense. Sorry, I'm so excited.
So on that same tip, just to lean towards the Ravenclaw side, I think some of it comes down to the strategy of like in presenting something beyond your medium. That does seem like a very, like, it's a very calculated move, and it's something. Calculated sounds like maniacal, but it's not that. It's like, hey, we understand that there's a broader spectrum of people that we're trying to introduce theater to, and so we have to expand beyond our walls of comfort, which is something that a Ravenclaw like will do, but they'll like tap the edges a little bit.
Yeah.
And I feel like television is very safe for that reason. That's and like, I mean, as far as openings go, because I'm remembering it was the Tonys 2 or 3 years ago where Hugh Jackman did that like long roaming camera sequence, and they like hit on all the various shows. He like wove through the background, the
backlot
backstage and like off on the streets and everything. But or maybe I'm thinking of when he hosted the Oscars. I'm not sure.
There was a Birdman bit, I think.
Maybe.
And also, now that I'm thinking about it, like, to get really dorky for the medium, they like theater still has permission, I think, because it is more niche in its viewership to really be more overtly political, especially when it comes to not just like grander political landscapes, but like the smaller family stuff. And that intimacy of the live theater can resonate a lot harder than, say, like the disconnect of a film.
I think also going off of,
which is very Ravenclaw-ish, to like have this sort of like concentrated effort to get this message across.
Oh, see, I was taking it in a completely different direction because it is such a passion-filled event, not only in its speeches, which are perhaps more politicized, but also in just like, we love this medium, and it's such a like condensed an intense grouping of like the greatest of greats, and it really is limited really to like a handful of people that are kind of being recycled. I'd almost say that you could argue Gryffindor or Slytherin.
The reason I wouldn't say Gryffindor is because it's almost, you said self-contained, and it's almost, we make stuff for us and for people like us.
Which is why I think the Slytherin angle is like not one that should be discounted, because the Gryffindor aspect is like the invitation of like, this is something that can be enjoyed for all people. Like, we love this medium and you should too. It's going to be great. But then like the you should too aspect also is like a Slytherin decree.
But you could argue that every one of these award show is Slytherin because of that.
Yeah.
So that's why that's why I think we should kind of cancel that one.
No,
out.
that's true. And by the same token, all of these are involved with the arts, and the arts do tend to veer Hufflepuff. So I mean, it's an interesting act.
If we would judge, like, you know, the Tonys by itself as an award show, maybe Slytherin would work. But I am judging it kind of against the other award shows, and like compared to them, it's the most Ravenclaw-ish. That's why I kind of chose that.
Yeah, and like ultimately, it's really interesting. The way that we give stage actors way more credibility than other ones. And so I want to like
they're
imagine,
immediately smarter.
Mhm.
yeah, like we get really excited when we hear, oh, this person was trained with like they were with the Royal Shakespeare Company, like knowing that David Tennant had his acting chops before he became the Doctor gave a lot of like comfort to people saying, okay, you can handle taking over this role. You know, Patrick Stewart, everyone's like, hell yeah, he's the man on TV, but first he was a really badass like Shakespearean actor. And I wonder, like, does that elitism lend itself to any particular house?
I mean, elitism tends to veer Slytherin.
Mhm.
It's Slytherin or maybe Ravenclaw.
Yeah.
But it is an intellectual elitism, which is more.
Well,
I
mean,
I'm so leaning
I think
towards this.
Leigh convinced me that's not Hufflepuff. I think it's Ravenclaw.
Well, I'm going to just say, based off of the argument of we should be gauging things against one another, and we don't necessarily need to land on everything right now. We can kick around. We've not conventionally done that before, but there's nothing to say that we can't because we're making all this up as we go.
It's our pod, baby.
I think of all of these, and obviously things we don't need to sort each into one house.
Yeah.
But I'd argue that the Grammys are the most Ravenclaw.
I want to say about the Grammys that they're the most Gryffindor.
Really?
Before we move on, though,
okay.
just if this helps anybody, I don't know why it will. Do y'all know what the actual name of the Tonys is?
Okay.
Have you ever heard it? Like, I'm on the Wikipedia. I'm not saying like I know everything. Tony Awards, their actual name is the Antoinette Perry Award for Excellence in Broadway Theater
Come
Award.
on, that's Ravenclaw.
No, I'm saying that's a...
That's done.
Oh.
Oh my God, that's such a long name.
I mean,
Antoinette Perry.
it gets a
Award for Excellence in
dweeby,
Oh.
like a dweebiness to it.
It sounds like
You need to read it in a nasally voice.
the Antoinette Perry Award for Excellence in Theater and Broadway.
I mean, that
so
makes me
long.
just go back to it's either a Ravenclaw or a Hufflepuff.
Oh,
Hufflepuff. I mean, it's not a. Yeah, I think it's like my second
Right.
choice for that.
I'm flipped. I'm thinking it's Hufflepuff and then Ravenclaw, but
I mean, I think it comes down to what Tonys would choose at the Sorting Hat.
Yo, you think it would like in the thing where the Sorting Hat's like, I'll let you kind of decide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
just like how Harry's like not Slytherin, it's like you would succeed at
Yes,
Slytherin.
something like that. Like you'd be awesome at Hufflepuff. Please no.
I heard a rumor, and I don't know all the context, but I heard that all three of like the gang in Gryffindor, the main like Hermione and Ron, I heard they all had that thing because Ron was supposed to go into Hufflepuff and Hermione was supposed to go into Ravenclaw.
And they all were like, please, Gryffindor.
Yeah, so they all exhibit like
we only know that Harry had the moment where he says, please not Slytherin. We don't know.
We're all anticipating that Ron book where we're gonna get his perspective of all those years, baby.
Oh my God. That's like gonna be
Can you imagine just
You know what? I can't imagine Ron being, please Hufflepuff, and the Hat being, you're going to Gryffindor because you have something there.
Yeah.
Like, no.
You're going to Gryffindor because your parents will disown you if
But
you
I just
aren't.
imagine there's so many parts of the Ron series that just involve him sitting around and waiting for Harry to get back. Like the Ron like, and I think that's because I relate to him so much. Is like, yeah, if I were in this universe, I'd be that character to be like, go get him, Harry.
Is there a like? So there's like in your perfect world, there's a Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead, but in the Harry Potter universe,
Oh,
revolving
there's a webcomics like
whatever
that.
nonsense Ron's getting up to, like the first time he gets a boner and he like freaks out about it and like tries to curse his boner so it goes away.
Oh man, that's gonna be bad news for all those kids. So all right, we've not. I guess to make it easier and say we've landed on something, I'll concede and say Ravenclaw for
Yay.
Tonys.
And we'll keep in mind we don't
Victory.
have to come to like a consensus across the board.
Sure. I guess we'll get to Grammys in a little bit. Let's move on to the Emmys,
Okay.
which
I thought about this. I had a difficulty with this one.
what
yes.
what presented you with difficulty? Explain it.
Because the Emmys themselves is kind of an award ceremony that doesn't really know what it wants. Every year we watch it, and every year it's kind of different depending on, who hosts it. And the only thing that is consistently fun is, the opening sketch thing. That's like something that I recognize as, oh, this is very Emmy. If we do like a funny sketch that I think is good enough, I say this is an Emmy sketch. But other than that, it's just a weird ceremony.
I think...
But
yes,
it's also like painfully predictable sometimes. You'll always have the win from Modern Family. You always have, that win from that one drama series that's big at the time.
Right. There is a component to it that lends to a degree of predictability, since certain shows just become determined darlings of your Game of Thrones,
and also,
your Modern
if
Families.
this is a show's like last season, it'll probably win too. Like what was it, Breaking Bad?
Breaking Bad, where it
Mad
just
Men.
like swept
It was
Mad
like
Men.
first time he won or something. Yeah.
And I mean, Mad Men is such a good show.
Yeah.
Like, I'll definitely admit that first season for me was like a slog to get through. If any of you are picking up Mad Men and haven't watched it, just know the first season is like a rough, slow burn.
Godspeed to you.
And it's only when you start second season and the show fractures off and away from Dawn exclusively that suddenly the show is amazing. You're like, oh, this isn't like a single character study. This is like an everybody character study and a decade study. And that's when the show becomes awesome. Also, whenever Mad Men just throws random, like, this is the way the world is sometimes and strange things happen. Like, there's a point where they're riding a lawnmower.
No, don't spoil.
Yeah, no.
And I'll just say things that you wouldn't expect happen.
Oh, yeah.
And like Mad Men is a good example of, like, I think as we have like these new styles of dramas that kind of got pioneered with like Sopranos and stuff, we came into an era of Emmy bait, the same way that we've had Oscar bait for so long. Like, these are films, prestige TV have been designed to be winning those Emmys. And it's good and bad. It means that we're getting,
but even like Mad Men didn't,
right? But at the same time,
enough.
I'd say like there's this degree of, you can create a show that is like bait, but that doesn't even guarantee the win, because it can be like a critical darling and then not have the viewership.
But just like with films, I'm saying, like, it started out with the auteurship, so you have stuff like Mad Men that's very, very much like a single vision. And then you have people who are like, I need to make something like Mad Men to get those awards and get that money. Yeah. So I think that's where that stems from. It's like actual really good shows and then a bunch of competitors.
So the interesting thing here is you've got, to go off of what we were saying before, of shows that don't really get their due only until like their swan song.
Yeah.
Which is like a very interesting politicalization of, I mean, but I think that happens with all of these award shows. Like you had, for example, in the Oscars, like Martin Scorsese won Best Picture and Best Director for The Departed. Is that his best work as a director? No, it's not. Like,
how many
The Departed is good.
How many nominations did he have before he finally won?
A lot. I can't, I mean, I want to say definitely more than 5.
But my overarching reason for asking is, did you know that there's actually somebody who has been burned more by the Emmys, to bring it back to the topic, that they even coined a term for it. And this might be a little bit before any of our time, but Susan Lucci was mostly a soap actor. She was nominated 19 times before she won once.
And what did she win for?
She won, let me see here. It was in 1999 for The Young and the Restless.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
But like, can you imagine doing work consistently good enough for almost 20 years before you win an award?
That's why this award show is so weird, because you don't know what will be the one show that'll be the darling for the next, 20 years or whatever. But then it'll be like that every year.
You're locked in when you're in a show. So it's like, all right, I'm playing this character who is either destined or not to be award worthy. And and that is unlike any of the other award shows because, you know, you release a new album once every 2, 3, 4 years, depending on how prolific and crazy your, you know, producing group is or what have you. Or as a movie, like you're producing one every 3, 4 years, you know, depending. But yeah, in the case of a show, it's like, oh, every year, if this is a series that is hitting, I'm going to be up for this potentially, unless the show falls hard off the wagon, like, you know, Dexter or something after season 4.
Or like 2.5 Men. I'm mad at the comedy category of the Emmys.
Yeah.
That does not have the best track record of
The comedy category
Woo!
always leans, I feel like, largest just demographic pull rather than,
and that's really strange to me.
It's so strange because, you know, unlike the Oscars where, you know, the comedy of the Oscars is just, you know, it non-existent to...
The comedies don't typically win.
Although I'm also thinking maybe...
Or nominated.
Maybe at least right now, as far as the Emmy comedy climate goes, would be the result of, like, so much pushback, as it were, to things like Arrested Development being nominated, which then didn't have the viewership. So now they're like swinging on the opposites.
That's almost how you know a show's good.
No, but that's
if they
that
never win
still
Emmys.
Happens a lot. I mean, Master of None was also nominated.
It was nominated. Atlanta won this year, correct? For best
Atlanta's
comedy.
good though. So.
I know, and these are shows that don't have like a huge viewership. Atlanta does, I think, but I mean that's why the Emmys is also kind of odd in that sense because, you know, cinema still tends to go to a traditional route, and
the Oscars
and television just
Oscars doesn't want to do any horror. It doesn't really do action as much unless it has like a very overt political.
And everyone is kind of fine with it. No one really says anything. With the Emmys, it's like
the only way that with the Oscars
everywhere.
that it's going to be going to like one of those sort of out of the box genre pieces is if the director is of esteem, like Mad Max Fury Road being nominated for Best Picture is the result of like Miller being a tour de force of a director for so long within the Hollywood system.
And because it just transcended so many things. It was so good that you could not, you had no deniability.
That said, jumping back more specifically into the Emmys, where are we feeling that this thing lands?
It's kind of a hot mess.
Yeah.
In terms of like, you can't really see where the barometer is for why they're choosing things.
I think
whether
what
it's
happens
good
in the Harry Potter
people...
universe, it's usually Gryffindor, right? I'm not sure what you are, Gryffindor or whatever.
I get but everybody is very dependent on television.
Mm-hmm.
Like there are bits that people make either like as a point of pride that they don't watch it, or like what is wrong with you because everybody watches TV.
Mm-hmm.
So these things, so it is a pretty important award show in terms of like figuring out what's going to make it in the landscape. Right. So maybe because of that, it's a Gryffindor because it has a lot more power.
Right.
But it isn't necessarily always respected as much as it should be.
Yeah, I mean, there's the part of me that feels the degree in which it's trying to like make sure that everybody's happy eventually within like the television landscape of like, all right, like Breaking Bad, it's your time. Like you did it. Congratulations. Like here's everybody gets a trophy. And then the next year they're like, great, we managed to like do that. All right, now it's Mad Men. Everybody gets a trophy.
An amount of guilt over there.
Yeah, like I think there is like a degree of we can't make everybody happy, but we can try our damnedest to like balance things out as best we can. And that allows some of the shows which have been screwed over for 2 or 3 years to get their due eventually, assuming that they're renewed.
An interesting thing. Maybe
that was your aim?
No, I'm agreeing with Gryffindor in the fact
that's a Gryffindor thing.
As like they're like, I mean, no, you do make a good argument because Hufflepuff is like a mediator type in trying to like make sure that everybody gets their due and everything is fair.
And in a way, I mean, Hufflepuff is like, okay, I'm going to do the job and do it well.
Well, like, I mean, just to give you basic breakdowns of like Hufflepuffs are patient, fair, and loyal. Like they stress that above all else. Whereas Gryffindors value courage, bravery, and determination. The determination factor is something that you could argue into like balancing everything out, but I guess I did just argue in favor of Hufflepuff.
Yeah.
I would say,
right, I
still feel Gryffindor, because even with more context, like before I said, the Tonys were founded in 49. So by that time, American theater has been around for like a century.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what year the Emmy started doing awards? 49. Network broadcasting had only been around since 28. So it only took 20 years for a TV to start saying, we need to give ourselves a pat on the back here, whereas it took a century for American theater to do the same thing.
Well, I mean, I'd argue
that's another reason they're a Ravenclaw.
I mean, we also don't know what the climate is for just television awards shows in general. Like that might have been just the hot thing to do, and they realized, everybody's tuning into award shows. So whether or not we're deserving of having an award show, that's the thing to put us on the map. And
maybe.
That's also
I'll
a reason.
Keep feeding out the years that these were founded.
That's also a reason for like, I mean, nobody really loses in creating an award show where you get to say this thing is worth your time.
Yeah.
That's only going to benefit the thing that wins the award, but also it elevates the things that don't win the award because you go, what is that? I've never I mean, I am always intrigued by whatever is nominated in the foreign film category for the Oscars, like always. Sure. Do I manage to watch those films? 9 times out of 10, no, I miss most of them. But I do add them to my Netflix queue and they eventually show up.
And then disappear when they lose their license.
You talked about the Emmys trying to kind of level with everyone and be, I don't know, kind with a lot of shows. I think the case is also right with its viewers. It doesn't have, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, it doesn't have as many like scandals as other award shows.
I don't think
so. It's kind of it's always kind of on the level between.
It's a pretty tame show.
Yes,
as far
it's tame.
As
it's the jokes.
Goes.
I mean, what's his name was nominated there from Lonely Island, right?
Andy Samberg.
He not nominated. He was the host. One of the years, or was it the Golden Globes?
I don't remember.
Never mind. But they are kind of similar in that sense. It's another point for that. That I mean, it is kind of tame. No one can kind of say what the Emmys are exactly because they're trying to be, kind with the rest of the nominations. Also with I mean, I think with the viewer.
I think so too.
No jokes are too harsh, but they are kind of touching those subjects. It doesn't
it's always
seem
the Golden
like
Globes where they get really mean about it.
It's not like a self-congratulating.
Well, that's just because they have
rest.
Ricky Gervais as their host multiple times over.
I'm leaning towards Hufflepuff.
I feel that's fine.
Because of all of these,
it makes sense. Yeah.
All right, we're landed on Hufflepuff. I like that we've started in relatively different spaces and then talked ourselves where it's like 2 out of 3, and then the third one's like, yeah, fine, well, that's fine. Jumping into the Grammys, which is admittedly for me the award show which I know the least about, because as far as music and my relationship go, if it's got a poppy, catchy tune and a melody that I can tap my foot to, I am cool with that song.
You sound so much like a dad right now.
But that's sort of what the Grammys is about too. But the Grammys, I want to argue that it's Gryffindor because it's always the boldest. It's always, I mean, I'm tapping on like the courage and boldness, aspect of Gryffindor. It's always the outfits, the performances. It's always like, we're going to be bigger. We're going to be a lot more elaborate. We're going to do like braver things.
Mm-hmm.
But
also the red carpet.
At the same time, they are the most of the corporate shills, like second only to maybe the Oscars.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of, they for real give album of the year to people who do not deserve it over Beyonce. Okay.
Oh yeah.
So is this you arguing in favor of Slytherin?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, no, I mean, I saw that. It basically was Leigh was saying Gryffindor, and you're like, no, let's see if it's following with the head or the heart, or not. At
least where it is right now. Maybe it's changed over times. It was founded in 1959. Last year, Adele won Album of the Year, And the first thing she said was, "This should not have gone to me, y'all racist." And like she broke her Grammy to give part of it to Beyonce and said like, "You are the person who made a freaking ridiculous concept album and put literally everything into it. And I made some good songs, but Beyonce is the queen." It's my.
I mean, I don't dispute that Beyonce is wonderful. I don't really dispute that Adele is great. Like,
yeah, but I still though see it as one of the dark sides of most award shows now. I don't see it as like exclusive of the Grammys. Like that's not the first thing I think.
The Grammys, I'm just saying, is egregiously bad about it. Like they don't even hide.
Well,
the
I agree. It has like
I think though
a Slytherin piece in it.
Yeah, there's definitely Slytherin aspects, like on at least
a racist Gryffindor,
at least on the fringes, on the fringes of the framework. There's some Slytherin. But going off of your point,
it's very
Leigh,
much look at me on the Grammys.
Well, it's got the glitz and glamour, but it also, if you recall, is easily one of the longest award shows.
That's true.
It has so many categories.
Every category, every genre and subset of music is in there, which, if you are watching the Grammys, you need to have a fortitude that is unparalleled because you're effectively watching like Gone with the Wind.
I actually
twice.
went to the Grammys.
What?
With Oren like 2 years ago. Do you remember?
No.
What happened?
My dad is like, he knows people in the music industry, so yeah, he got
look
it.
At me. I'm Leigh, knowing people in the music industry.
I am a dad.
So my dad, who is like a total Ravenclaw, by the way. And
just the fact that was the tether on. Oh, I have a dad.
So smug about it. We get it.
We get it. Biologically, things worked out. Like, you weren't raised in test tubes like we were and just plopped out from unknown forms of DNA being mixed.
We are the two babies from Brave New World, and now we have a sorting podcast. Mm-hmm. So that would make us not alphas for sure.
Sorry. So you went to the Grammys.
Well, yeah, and it, as you said, it has like every single category. It went on forever, and it was always on.
Mm-hmm.
Like you know, and at the Oscars, you kind of feel when people kind of start getting tired. The host, everyone is kind of there is the weird moment of okay, you can go to the bathroom now. We're kind of losing it. The whole audience is kind of losing it. Weird shit kind of starting to happen. With the Grammys, just it was like a giant robot that would not quit, and that's another argument for Gryffindor, I think.
No, I'm on the same page with you that I do feel. Actually, the thing that makes me feel most that it is Gryffindor is the like fact that they award a new artist, or like best new album or whatever, best new band. Like, I think that is because that's not a category. Or do the Emmys? The Emmys have like best new. Series, or am I wrong on that?
Everyone has that on a certain
level.
Well,
the Oscars don't and the Tonys don't. I know that much.
Oscars, yeah, I keep thinking about, short movie,
right,
the Oscars,
but
which
let's
is
be real. Nobody
sure.
is going away from that and saying like that's not the award that everyone walks out being like, oh my gosh. But I think it was like Chance the Rapper won as like best new upcoming artist.
It's a thing. No,
and like
no doubt.
He's everywhere now. He just recently he was in the new DJ Khaled like music video and like that's a big goddamn deal as far as, whereas if you win best short, like
you're probably going to get more work from that, but you're not going to be like in the public consciousness necessarily.
You're going to get meetings for 6 more months than the other people, but that doesn't ensure the degree of clout that I like. And so in that regard, I feel like the Grammys are like strangely more giving, and also just the fact that they have every category because they're trying to accommodate everyone, which is now again it sounds like me trying to
lean
towards Hufflepuff.
When we said Emmys, we didn't include daytime Emmys, did we?
No, we did
Oh
not.
yeah, the
Which do not
daytime Emmys
exist.
are especially Hufflepuff.
Yeah, the daytime
my
Emmys are
gosh.
Hufflepuff
in
as
the
hell.
nicest way possible. Like any
Hi.
award that for a
I'm an
reality
award
TV
show.
show is Hufflepuff as hell.
What are you? I'm daytime Emmys.
Daytime
Oh,
Emmys,
that's nice.
Oh, okay.
I do feel bad for like, because there are those certain award shows that you look at and you go, oh, what do you win? You want a daytime Emmy?
Everyone wanted
So-
daytime
so you,
Emmy.
like,
Come
great.
on.
Great, like that means nothing to me.
Oh, that's so bad, but it's so true.
Okay, so
Although,
But yeah.
although the Emmy statue is probably the coolest.
Oh my
looking.
gosh.
I mean, yeah, because it's like a lady. It's a woman holding an atom.
Yeah, it's
Which, like,
pretty,
what the hell does that mean? What does that mean? What does that have to do with
You see, it is the Ravenclaw.
TV?
it's pretty dope. But
Well,
okay,
yeah, so Grammys, I think we got it.
Grammys is Gryffindor.
Lee, did you wear like a fancy dress when you went?
Oh, yes.
Oh,
or an
we gotta
amazing
get,
dress.
We gotta get a picture of that.
I
Post
have
it on
one.
social media.
Yeah. Please don't. I had like this dress. It was like, it's hard for me
What
to
were you
buy.
wearing? Who was the designer,
It
honey?
was Halston Heritage.
I do not.
It was ridiculously
The
crushing
worst
my
gay man on the
boobs.
planet.
I
Yeah.
couldn't breathe. But it
Oh,
was
gosh.
awesome.
The sacrifices we make to look great.
Was
Yes.
Oren in a tux?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
We looked like high-priced assassins together. It was
Oh
awesome.
my god! I can't. I want to see.
Was that
You know
when your
what?
hair
Let
was
me
jet
check
black?
it out while you were.
Was your hair jet black then?
Wait, what? Black?
Because you went.
No, it was like this, like
Okay, 'cause-
brown.
Yeah, when
But
we
it was long. so
when we break from the episode, I want to see pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, so we're decidedly landing on
oh,
Gryffindor
here we are.
with this.
Here, look.
Okay, I'm gonna describe it to you the best that I can, listener. They look like they're gonna seduce you and then take your money and or kill you, and also maybe they're vampires.
And
They look hot as hell. By
that's
the way,
right. Yeah, I've seen this photo. I remember this. Yeah, I mean,
You and Oren are a handsome couple.
You
We
definitely
are.
look like you are from a vampire movie.
Yes.
That's the general just like tone that oozes or like aura.
And
that
then I saw
oozes
someone
from-
else with that dress.
Oh no!
But I look better.
But don't worry, they
I
were
won.
killed
Lee wore
and then they
best.
stole their money.
Yeah.
All right, so now we're to the Oscars.
I think we have an agreement on the Oscars. Should we
Mhm.
say it together?
1, 2, 3.
Ravenclaw.
Slytherin.
That's Slytherin card. So yeah, I want to say Slytherin. I said Ravenclaw because I dozed off. Yeah, Slytherin. Yeah,
Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
Let's
like,
just say it, dudes.
yeah, Slytherin.
They tried.
what?
Like, I love the truthers for La La Land. The best picture thing. I love the truthers who said like they tried to just give it to white supremacy. I don't believe that. I believe it was like an actual goof, and like everybody like was like ultimately like, oh no, of course Moonlight deserved it. This was a mistake. But I love the people who believe that it was a conspiracy theory.
Oh my god, they exist.
Yeah, dude.
Did you know that we actually know the person responsible for the goof?
We actually have, we have a mutual friend whose father is involved with the process of like handing out the official envelopes.
So like, was he executed? Is he fine?
Yeah, may he rest in peace.
Right. His ashes have been scattered on the four seas.
Jimmy Kimmel strangled him with his own bare hands. I'm never gonna get another hosting gig.
But yeah,
Well,
so
anyway, elitist, racist.
But yeah, it does speak
Not
to
him, Slytherin.
But it
and,
does
and,
speak
and the
to
Oscars.
a larger thing that when one of the dudes up on stage, and you can go and check the video if you don't believe me, when one of the dudes found out during like when La La Land won and somebody rushed up and gave him the news, he went kind of, what? And then he turned. He's like, oh, okay, we lost. He turned and started giving his acceptance speech anyway. And that's why the conspiracy theorists are like, oh no, this was a concerted effort and the people on La La Land know about it. And as somebody who fights for racial justice, it's like those insane conspiracy theories that are just amazing to me.
I mean, that like this particular Oscars aside, I think we can just say the Oscars have definitely a high society look down on the fact that there are many award shows for movies.
Yes.
There's the BAFTAs, there's the various DGA and
the Olivier's, is that
Golden
one?
Globes. Like, there are so many throughout the year, but
This is the one.
The Oscars have managed to set themselves on such a high pedestal.
They're considered like the gold standard of like what an award show's supposed to be.
And what amazing is that anyone you'll ask will say, "Yeah, the Oscars I just watch is for the dresses. I just watch." No one kind of takes it that seriously.
But everybody watches
everyone
it.
do, yeah.
Well, the interesting thing there is, like, I mean, anything that's nominated for Best Picture, yeah, I'll try to do my damnedest to watch it.
Right.
Am I mad that as of like 2009 they expanded the category from 5 to potentially
Why
10?
so many movies? Like, eventually everyone's going to be nominated.
Well, and I mean, that's simply from the smart choice of we want to include more like broad films that had a wider appeal. That's how they can nominate something like Mad Max in the category.
But I'm of the opinion of like, just make those hard choices and be like, yeah, Mad Max is better than, such and such film.
Right. But then everyone gets, I mean, in any case, there's always going to be the millions of this person was snubbed, this person was da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah, and that's unavoidable, though.
But
it is kind of, I mean, what it reminds me of most is kind of a high school, and the Oscars is the Regina George that everyone like hates but still adore and still like put it on a high pedestal like that.
Right.
And they're both a Slytherin. Regina George is a Slytherin. That's like... that Voldemort sucks, but he's awesome.
And like all these award shows, but probably the Academy Awards, because it seems to be the biggest like high pressure event for this thing, is Slytherin for the way that women have like all of the women who have to be on that red carpet have to like starve themselves and like go crazy with stress about it.
I do like that there's been a lot of pushback on that though recently.
Yeah, I like that, but it's just been endemic. Like when did the Oscars first air? Let me look.
There's something also. I mean, we don't need to belabor the point because we're all in agreement that
believe
it's a
the
Slytherin.
Oscars used to be a Gryffindor.
No,
I
think even you could argue that they initially were Ravenclaw in the fact that they were being very, they were looking at so many different components in order to.
You guys don't know how the Academy Awards were founded?
Oh no.
They were founded by the studio systems who wanted to try to take to this is for real. This is Louis B. Mayer of MGM, who had like no like moral compass for his business decisions. He made this because they hadn't enacted the Hays Code and enforced it as much. And
I heard about this.
He needed a diversion from the fact that his stars were leading these lives that, were normal people lives, but to the American public, seeing them on display
were
scandalous and deplorable. So he purposely, and other studios followed suit, purposely created this to give a prestige and an honor back to the actors and the directors and everybody involved in the industry, because they were the industry around the 30s and 40s started to decline and crumble because people were like, I don't want to go see films that aren't Christian. As a very Christian society. So they created this to give a wholesomeness back to Hollywood.
Well,
so that's
it's decided.
Stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
So just adding the elitism back in there.
Yeah.
But that said, like, I do feel somewhere in the middle of the Oscars history, there was like a greater sense of like anybody has a shot at this, and they were really celebrating different arrays of films. The fact that like Exorcist was nominated, or like
I think
Silence of the Lambs. Like there was a period in the Oscars history where we lost the like. It was a true celebration of all types of films,
and I think that has like echoes of like of the 70s, like of Vietnam, when we kind of lost our romanticism of our own morality and started looking at things in a bigger picture.
Yeah, and the Oscars kind of grew with America in that sense.
Yeah.
Well, and also there were definite shakeups, like Roger Corman and like Jaws and Star Wars, like those were all different approaches within the systems. Like some were like lo-fi and others were blockbusters, but they were, I mean, Roger Corman, correct me if I'm wrong, was like responsible for Easy Rider, correct?
Yes, I believe so. Yeah, and that was a huge cultural shift because before that, the Oscars, and there was a big like pushback from these kids who were in the hippie culture, who were in the beatnik culture, to say like, we don't want these safe like period films about rich people or musicals starring Julie Andrews that are
we
fine,
want
but
real
are
depictions of life, man.
We want to see subtext. We want to see danger. We want to see Bonnie and Clyde, and not Julie Andrews.
Right.
And so I think that was the big shift that spawned a more honest reflection of like what is good art and film.
I think moving now back to the present, I think some of it's strange because some of what makes the Oscars a perpetual Slytherin is the fact that the old guard is unfortunately always going to be in control. And so we're going to be a little behind the curve always as to what is the like hip and more.
Like what's relevant.
Yeah. So like, I mean, I was actually having this conversation with Leigh last night as we hung out the evening before, and just talking about how like this year's Oscars, I wasn't wildly moved by many of the Best Picture nominations. And I thought that there were many better films that like came out, but we're all playing that like Hollywood game, and it is all politicized and all of that. So we're ultimately coming out with not necessarily the best movies of whatever year, but we're coming out with the best movies of that year that played the game right and made sure that they're for your considerations, and, you know, the right stars were in the right spots with the right directors, and the narrative could be properly presented.
I think I mentioned before that, I mean, Slytherin was mentioned in every one of the award shows, and I said that you can argue that about every award show. And the Oscars is the award show of award shows. It's kind of the epitome of that. So it makes all the sense that it's kind of the pure Slytherin in that sense.
Oh, for real. Like, so it does some good, like Slytherins can. Yeah. But ultimately, it's so self-serving. It's so self-serving and like cannibalizing of an industry that needs to freaking.
Yeah, and this year, like more than ever.
But like even that was them just knowing that was the part of the game they had to play, and not necessarily
because
true altruism to be like,
because the year prior we had Oscars so white.
Yeah.
So they had to bounce back from that. So all right, we're in agreement. I mean, we've been in agreement. It's a Slytherin. We just had to rail against the Oscars because we'll all watch them, but like we don't. I
talked so much shit today. I'm watching all of those shows.
Yeah, it's a crazy thing where like this year I definitely was like, I don't even care. I don't want to watch the Oscars.
Yeah,
and then
my
friend
Overlord
Ryan was like, you want to come watch the Oscars? And I was like, yeah, I guess I'm gonna come watch the Oscars.
I was delicious though. And that moment at the end, it was worth everything. Everything.
I actually had a terrible moment when that was happening because I had to go back to work. It was like a late night deadline thing, but also my partner had just taken a bunch of edibles and didn't tell me like how much he had taken. And then he said, right as it was happening, he was like, "I'm too high. Is this real? Is this actually happening?" And I was like, "Oh no!" And he's like, "Oh, are the Oscars going to be canceled now?" And I was like, "No, it's all right." Also, I have to leave. Oh, you look really bad. I hope you're okay. Call me if you're puking or whatever. I was like, he's gonna be the first person to overdose on weed, and I'm gonna just have to be like, we were watching the Oscars, and that's when I knew.
And with that fun tangential story, I would like to thank our guest, Leigh, for joining us.
Yay.
Where can we see more of you, Leigh?
What's your Twitter handle?
Oh, yeah. My Twitter handle is Leigh Lahav, LEIGH, and on YouTube, only Leigh, ONLY, LEIGH.
Wonderful, wonderful.
But I'm not sure when is the next time I'm going to
That's fair. Your
But
Upload.
check out her back catalog. It's brilliant. You've probably already seen a bunch of her viral hits. Go check out the rest of her work too. It's brilliant.
Yeah, she's absolutely fantastic, and
Yeah.
we're both so pleased to have you here and
Thank
call
you.
you
I'm
a
pleased
friend.
to be here.
You can
Non-Hollywood friend.
You can see more, or you can hear more from me at Belated Media on Twitter. You can hear more from Katie at that Katie Reed on Twitter.
Yeah, and like if you like the show, please give us a review on iTunes or we're on Google Play too, right?
Yes, we are on Google Play.
Reach out to us in any way. Let us know if there are any categories that you're like, oh, we'd like to hear from, or if you know any local LA comics or you know people who that you'd like to hear from, and we'll reach out to them to get them as guests.
Yeah, hit us up at SortingHatPodcast@gmail.com with all those recommendations and whatnot, reviews, blah, 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 blah. You're all wonderful people.
I'm gonna play you off. You better stop singing.
I'm gonna stop now. Wait.